welcome into another episode of What's Brewing. I'm Chris Nozick. That is Gayle Triani. Gayle, it's been a week since our last episode. Big frenzy in that past week of a lot of trades going on. Our Bruins haven't been involved in any of them. There is chatter out there. And then, of course, our big story that really kind of made us want to do this show. Bergeron to the Hall of Fame, 37 to the rafters. There you go. First off, how are you? How you been? And how did you feel when that news came down about 37 and then the Hall vote?
So I've been good. Nice start to the summer for Patrice. It was a no-brainer. Absolutely no-brainer for Boston. He probably would have been raised to the rafters last year if it weren't for Chara.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, there was absolutely no doubt that he was going to be elected his first year of eligibility. I mean, the six Selkies alone, you know.
Yeah, anyone who thought or felt otherwise, just I would go so far as to say they never watched him play a single game. Like it's that pretty cut and dry. I mean, he played 1294 of them. You missed all of them. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you know what? If you only watch the beginning part of his career, then I could see it. But if you missed the last,
Kevin says you look stressed and nervous. They might trade Korpisalo, who would back up Swayman if he went down.
Starting already, Kevin.
Kevin, of course, because it's Kevin. I'm surprised Dom hasn't said anything.
You know, but I mean, it's funny because I think who was I was talking to someone at work about this. You know, when they drafted Patrice Bergeron, if anyone thought that he would be a 6-time Selke winner, they're lying. They're absolutely lying.
Yeah.
Watching him develop year after year after year and becoming what he was such a privilege.
Yeah, and just to see how far he got with it. I mean, literally one of the best two-way forwards.
And Kevin's frozen. Not Kevin, Chris. Hello.
He did not focus.
You totally froze. I have no idea what you were just saying.
Where did I freeze up?
Right after you said two-way center.
Oh,
okay. Or two-way forward.
One of the best two-way forwards to ever play the game. But yeah, I think most people who watched him would agree with the statement that his 1,040 points would have been a lot higher if he didn't focus so much on his defense and the details to go into being such a good two-way player. He could have produced so much more offensively if he didn't have that drive to be so good.
You also have to wonder, too, what would have happened had he not taken that hit from Randy Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there are a lot of things that came into play with him that, I mean, even in 2013, with all the injuries he sustained, he didn't have to come back.
No.
You know, he could have saved, you know what I mean? But,
Dom says Kevin OS frozen stiff at the thought DiPietro could back up Swayman. And then as Kevin says, I didn't think Bergeron was going to have a career after they scraped him off the ice after that boarding hit against the Flyers. So definitely didn't see 6 Selkies coming. I don't think you ever look at any player and go, 5, 6, 7, anything. I mean, think about what people were saying about Connor McDavid when he came into the league. Oh, he's going to win all these things. And yeah, he's won a lot of them, but what's he up to now? 3 Hearts?
Right.
That's it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, is that with Bergeron, and I was at that game with Randy Jones hitting him. I was actually right above them. That was a scary hit.
Oh, yeah.
And given he's lucky. He's lucky he wasn't paralyzed. He's lucky that he didn't suffer brain damage. I mean, that was a brutal hit. That hit and the hit that Mark Savard took from Matt Cook were the reasons why the league eventually said, "We gotta watch the hits to the head." Those
Oh,
2
yeah,
players.
easily
Those oh,
easily those 2 are at the
it's
top of the
not
list.
it's not disputable. That's
Oh, yeah.
exactly what it was. I mean, if there's verbiage out there that says it, so, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, someone at
and
work
to
said to me
see
today "Oh, so the Bruins signed their 5th goaltender." I'm like, "No, not their 5th goaltender." But, they re-signed,
Zajac.
Zajac, and I'm like, He's in Providence." I'm like, "He's not." I'm like, "Do I want them to unload Korpisalo? If the offer's right."
Yeah, I think that's
You
what
know what I
was
mean?
established in today's press conference.
Right, if the offer's right, I mean, Sweeney said he's taking calls on everyone, and he's making calls. But it's gotta be for the right reasons, and it's gotta be for the right move. It can't just be to offload his contract. He's gotta be, because then if the Bruins do move on from Korpisalo, then it's gonna be, well, do they get an NHL true and tried backup, or do
Mhm.
they bring DiPietro up? And that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, and it depends, and a lot of it's gonna depend on who the trade partner is. There are
Right.
31 other teams out there that are trying to improve their roster in some capacity, and,
Mhm,
this is when GM's phones are the busiest,
mhm,
and, you know, e everything is on the table. Everything, as it
mhm.
should be, especially for a team in the Bruins situation. That being said, there's been some deals out there that have had strong reaction on both sides. And looking at them, yeah, I agree with the sentiment of, let's go, Donnie, do something. That meme of the stick figure poking the
Right,
Bruins do something. I get it, but you don't want to do something out of desperation.
right,
And, this is a team you can't say on one hand they have no prospect pool and then say they've got to unload all of their prospects for Brady Kachuk, for instance. We'll dive more into the who later, but you can't say they have no prospect pool and then give up everything that you have either to create a new one, which is all your first round picks,
right.
or the few good players in that pool that you just got in the last 12 months. As Kenny says, doing nothing is better than doing something stupid. 100%.
Mhm. Well, and I actually liked what Sweeney said. He goes, "I think everything has to be on the table at this time of the year. Ultimately, our goal is to improve now and moving forward." Okay. So they know they're in a spot where they can improve, but it's not going to be one player. You know what I mean? One player is not going to put them over the top. And then he
Right.
said, he kept referencing Fraser and Husadinov, which I thought was great because he made the point of saying that he took these young players that weren't going to crack the NHL lineup or weren't getting much playing time in their prospective clubs before they got them. And, you know, Murat Husadinov and Fraser Minton had great seasons for where the Bruins were. You know what I mean? Could they be better? Obviously, yes. I mean, but they for nobodies, they fit into the system and they played up and down the lineup, and they were
Yeah.
extremely versatile.
Huge success stories from last season. And one of the things that I would also point out as a good thing that Don Sweeney is doing is he's not so focused on what other teams are doing
Mhm.
that he feels the need to overreact and divert. He's focused on what can my team do? How good is my team? If you're focused on 31 other teams, you're not focused on your own.
So, and someone asked him in the press conference today if he thought the team was competitive in its own division. Well, yeah, they proved it last year that they were competitive. They have
They put up 100 points.
They have so like even aside from the points, they have a Vezina caliber goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
They have a Hart contending forward.
Yep.
They have two of the best defensemen in the league. And they have supplemental players. Can they improve? Absolutely, they can improve.
Yeah, but he's not denying that either.
Well, no, but the thing is that people are like, get rid of Pavel Zacha, get rid of Morgan Geekie. Why? Why tear it all down when you stay the course that you're on?
Kevin's rooting for, essentially the results of a tank, which is if I can trade Geekie or Zacha for a top 10 pick right now, I'm doing it. Got to try after seeing what Chicago did. Look, if you're going to get, a massive package of, a top 10 pick this year, plus something else, or even if you're just going to get a lower first round pick, not that there are very many behind them, but like, if you're going to get at least what Seattle gave up for Sam Miskevich, a high first round pick and a future second, then we're at least starting a conversation. But the importance of Pavel Zacha to this team is tenfold that of getting moved.
Right.
It's you need to have a serious, return for those guys because of how important they are.
Mm-hmm.
Trading one of Geekie or Zacha isn't tanking. Yeah, Kevin, it kind of is because they are truly crucial parts of your forward group right now, both on the scoring sheet and in the locker room. And then Kenny says, Dom asked Kenny if the Islanders have a goalie in Hamilton that Boston could have to back up Swayman if they even, in the event they trade Korpisalo. And as Kenny points out, the Isles are targeting a third goalie because they don't know if Varlamov is going to be able to play the whole season, which, again, there are plenty of other teams. The Isles are certainly one that could have interest in DiPietro. They could have interest in Korpisalo. The Rangers need a new backup because Jonathan Quick is retiring. You just don't know how these other teams feel about specific players. And one team may be extremely high on DiPietro, and another team might be viewing Korpisalo as an upgrade to what they have. If they view him as an upgrade, what are they willing to offer, and how does it compare to the team that's interested in DiPietro and what they're willing to offer? So, and then Gordon Zombie says, trade, and rebuild. You don't have the horses nor the stones to make the moves needed to contend. Why are you going to stay the course on being mediocre and waste David Pastrnak? Trade him. First of all, you're not trading David Pastrnak at all right now. He is your offense. You have no other, player of his ilk in the pipeline nor on the roster. So you need to keep Pastrnak. Second of all, that is a complete and total teardown that this team doesn't have the stomach for. And the fans don't have a stomach for it.
But they are also like, they're not as bad as other teams in the division. Are they going to contend for a Stanley Cup? Maybe not this year. But why would they mortgage their future, the prospects that they have and the picks that they have, to tear it down and rebuild it? Like, that makes no sense.
My other question is, who, like, I know Kevin said Morgan Geekie and Pavel Zacha. What are you getting back in those trades that are going to help this team? Like, the teams that want those players are going to be willing to give up futures. They may give you a ton of futures. And yes, you can always flip futures for other things. But if you get 3 first-round draft picks for Pavel Zacha, yeah, you do that deal. Because you already have so many that it adds to your arsenal that you can start just negotiating with other teams' first-round picks. And you can still keep your own. It allows you to go get something else but then you're opening another hole when you already have other ones that you're trying to fill.
Right. And the thing is that people complain that the Bruins, their draft capital in the last 10 years, pretty much has been horrible because they've been trading away their picks for players.
And now the answer is trade away the picks to get players.
Right. And it's like you can't. So it's like most people are extremely fickle that they literally is like they want to. I understand. I want to win. I want the Bruins to win. I want another Stanley Cup. I want 7. I don't want 6. I want 7. I want 8. I want 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want them to win more Stanley Cups. They should have won more Stanley Cups in the years that Chara, Bergeron, Marchand, Krejci, Tuukka Rask. They should have won at least 1 or 2 more Stanley Cups. They had 2 Stanley Cups in their grasp. You know what I mean? And because they didn't win in 2013 and 2019, it's deemed unsuccessful. I disagree. They're still one of the most successful franchises in the entire NHL.
Yeah,
it's still
you
got
to find a way to get pushed over.
I understand that right now it's sexy to go to Florida because it's, nice weather, there's no sales tax. I get that. I 100% get that. But there's still nothing like playing for an original 6 franchise. And any player will tell you that.
And is the state income tax a problem? Yeah. Is it becoming a bigger problem? Yeah. Does the NHL need to deal with it? Yes, they do. However, it's not the end all be all because there are plenty of states plenty of teams that are in both states with income tax and without that players want to go to because the team is set up to win. Why is Minnesota on people's trade lists if they have income tax? It's because it's about the winning environment. That's why the teams that we're seeing on no trade lists, Canada is part of it. Like it's tougher to win up there because the owners have a bigger wall to climb simply because they earn Canadian dollars and they pay the players in US dollars. And so,
not only that, I mean, if we're being honest, the whole immigration thing also comes into play.
Yeah.
Whether you're going from Canada to the US, US to Canada, Russia, it doesn't matter. Like immigration is a factor. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And the other thing is too, is that, if a player is a US born player and they're playing in Canada, they then have to raise their children up there. And if not, they're away from their families. And that's also a factor.
Yeah, there's so many factors. And it's one of those things where if it was just about the sales tax, then literally every player would be trying to sign in 6 teams.
Right.
And yet, last time I checked, Connor Hellebuck re-signed in Winnipeg regardless of the taxes. They signed those contracts despite the taxes. Now, circumstances 3 years into that contract have changed. The team's not what it once was. And so the projection of that team and the desire to stay for a team that lowers the chance of him winning a Stanley Cup, you want to leave that situation. It's not about, yes, you want to go to a place that's going to try to win. Dallas, Florida, Vegas, but he could very easily look at Buffalo and say, let me fix it there.
Right, but you also want to go to a place that, like he's obviously not saying I want to go play in Boston because he knows Jeremy Swayman is in Boston.
Yep.
That's another factor.
Tampa's not on his list.
Right, because Vasilevsky's there. You know what I mean? So there's certain things, and the whole thing about Florida is they still don't know what's going on with Bob.
Yeah, that's a very intriguing situation. I think they're trying to just hammer out a middle ground there. I think both sides want it to work because Bob has been there for 10 years now. I think it was a 10-year deal at the time. They were still an option. His family doesn't want to move. If he leaves to go anywhere else, he's picking up his kids, his wife.
Right.
They're all up and moving after 8 years of being in Florida. He doesn't want to do that. Now, is he willing to do that to get $8-9 million a year over 4? Yeah, probably. I think every single person would look at that and go, "You're willing to pay me double? Great."
Well, yes,
let me talk to my wife and figure it out.
There are some players, Bergeron, who took a huge discount to stay in Boston, to come back for one more year.
Yeah. I'm for one more year. Yeah, I think Bobrovsky's not the type of person.
But then there are some players that actually have the loyalty to the franchise and not just their paycheck.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, at least it's a conversation.
They're few and far between nowadays. It's more about the paycheck. And, and Don Sweeney said it today. The wives have a say in it now, too. Like, does Bob's family really, who's been in Florida for as long as they have, do they want to go to Vancouver?
Probably not.
Right. You know what I mean? But like Jeremy Swayman, him and his fiance, they're in Boston. He just signed a nice deal. So he's going to be here for the long haul. He's not going to just go, all right, trade me to Florida.
Right. It wasn't exactly like we were 2 years into Brad Marchand's contract and he started going, how can I get the hell out of here?
Right.
He wanted to be here because they were winning.
Right. And the thing is about Marchand too, is that he didn't say trade me to Florida. He said, find me a trade. He's like, I will waive my no trade if you find me a contender. He wanted the opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. Ray Bourque did the same thing. Ray Bourque 100% did the same thing.
Yeah.
You can trade me if you send me to a team that's going to be a contender. Which at that stage of their career, they deserve to say that.
And Kenny said the reality is Canadian fans can be upset, but who the hell wants to play and live in Ottawa and Vancouver and lose, then be treated like crap after winning the gold medal? There's no incentive to stay. And I think this one's specifically more geared towards Brady Tkachuk, for instance. But to his point, Connor Hellebuck will fall into that category if he gets moved. Like there are just so many incentives and reasons for them to want to come home at that point. And, I do think, especially with Brady, there was some self-inflicted wounds in that Ottawa fan base.
Well, you're a captain and you came back from winning a gold medal, and he immediately, it was, is he staying? Is he going? Is he staying? Is he going? The rumors started swelling because of the camaraderie with the USA team and playing with his brother. And it started at Four Nations, not even
especially
just
between those two, with those two.
But who in their right mind wouldn't want to play with their sibling if they had the opportunity?
I mean, we've been hearing about it for the Hughes brothers ever since Luke was drafted.
Right. The Folignos are finally playing together. How long did it take Nick to find, to get over there with Marcus?
Yeah, but no one complained when the Stahl brothers did it.
Right. I mean, I think part of it is the Tkachuks are despicable human beings. They're not well liked.
Yeah.
I mean,
they don't shut up.
That's part of it. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk is a whiny little bitch. But
Kenny says, not for nothing again, people want to be mad, but he wants to play with his brother. This isn't a wild thing. Even the Ruck twins in the draft want this. How can you blame them?
no, I mean, it's because it's the Tkachuks, because they are despicable human beings. They really are. I mean, it starts with their father and it trickles down to them, and I don't care. People can say what they want about me. I don't like the Tkachuks. I really don't. And I was flabbergasted that Keith got elected to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, numbers wise, there's an argument, but there's more to it than
I'm
just
sorry,
that.
but why? And that's the whole thing. This is more political than anything else. You can't tell me that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame before Rick Middleton.
Yeah, conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But yes, there is definitely, as you said, there's definitely a politics aspect, both in and out of the hockey world, that needs to be considered. And I think it was Elliot Friedman who mentioned, like, yeah, that was a factor, how he was treated. Which again, some of it was self-inflicted. You know, how did he handle the Linus Ullmark situation, for instance?
Right.
You know,
as
like
a captain. As a captain.
wearing the C. How do you think Bergeron would have handled that situation? You know, there would have been a lot more emphasis on, he's our goalie, he's our guy, he's going through something, we're going to support him. Period. End of story.
But again, and it boils down to the character of the Tkachuks. They're the most selfish, despicable. Oh, well, not the most, but they're up there.
And then Octolac says, to be fair, they treated like crap after winning gold. Isn't the gold their own dumb decisions after they did it? Yeah, I mean, the humor to me is they can't sit there and go, oh, well, it became political after they're the ones who took politics into the situation. Like,
right.
You know, they deserve the backlash that they said, hey, we welcome your opinions and thoughts on this situation, because we're going to publicly do X, Y, and Z. And they do everything publicly now because of their stupid podcast. Right. And, you know, I don't think they're the ones. You know, we see the Kelsey brothers do it in the NFL, and they don't do nearly half the dumb stuff.
Well, that's because they actually have morals.
That helps. And then Dom says, wait until Houston gets their franchise. Everyone will want to leave Florida for Houston. I mean, it's probably going to happen. You know, there's probably going to be 2 more expansion teams coming. You know, right now they've already approved the one for, you know, whether it's going to end up being Houston or Austin remains to be seen, but it's going to happen. And then you'll probably see another team, you know, Atlanta, Arizona. You know, they're going back to Arizona.
Didn't work.
Yeah, they want to go back to Arizona.
They tried Arizona, and neither one of them worked.
Yeah, the problem was in both situations the same. It was ownerships, the bad ownerships, and I think they're going to do a much better job of vetting ownerships this time through. Is it going to be this expansion cycle? Maybe not.
Right, but the other thing is too is that, I mean, if you're going to put a franchise in Arizona, they don't have a stadium. There's so many different things. There are other factors.
Well, what they already said for this Houston wouldn't have a stadium either. So they need to put the bid in and include the stadium when that is ready to go. Like, this is just a start thinking about where you want to go, how you want to do it, come up with the plan. Then you can present it to us.
In Houston, they wouldn't, but Houston has the Rockets. They wouldn't be able to play where the Rockets play.
I think it would be another situation.
I thought it was Austin, as Utah. They wouldn't have an arena.
Neither one are set up right now for hockey. So at best, with Houston, you'd be looking at another situation as what Utah has. But the ownership group that was approved for this search doesn't own the Houston Rockets.
Right, but so the Boston Celtics don't own the TD Garden, so you pay rent.
No, but the TD Garden was built for both uses. The Houston Rockets Stadium was not. So you're going to have to, in turn, basically pay for all those renovations to a building that you don't own, and I don't see that happening. Just so you could rent out to have your team play there. Now, is it a slightly better situation than what would be coming into play in Austin? Yeah, probably, because at least there's a building and you can do those renovations and make it hockey ready over the course of a summer, maybe 2 leading into the expansion draft once everything's approved. But as far as having a pure hockey stadium, neither city has one.
Yeah, I'm
But
with
any of the cities,
Kevin and Biggie 411. Is it Biggie Bergie? I don't know.
I don't know.
But I agree with them. I don't want more teams. I think the NHL is fine where it is. I think it has too many teams to begin with. I like the fact that they took away 2 preseason games and they're adding 2 more, so there'll be 84 games this season. I like that. I like having a longer regular season. I think they need to change the play. I think there's other things they need to fix before they add more teams. They need to go back to the 1 through 8 format. They can't just stay with this stupid format that they have.
Or they can just go back at Mullet Arena. Okay, BG, like the BGs. There goes that. And as Dom points out, and that's what I thought, Bettman already said Houston or Austin bids have to include the cost of a new arena. I knew it was included if they went to Austin, but I didn't know about Houston definitively. But yeah, and I would think any other expansion team, because any market they're looking at, whether it's Arizona, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's, pick any other major city where you can try and squeeze a team in, they're going to have to include an arena with it because they don't want to go through what they went through with Arizona.
I think Atlanta, though, where the Hawks play is where the Thrashers used to play. So I think it's already there.
Well, the ownership group, yeah, it probably could use that same building. The problem was the ownership group there bought, they had to buy both, and they didn't want the hockey team. So when you have an ownership group that doesn't want your hockey team, you have an ownership group that doesn't care about it, and that's where all the problems started. And then, of course, you have the disaster ownership turnover in Arizona, and it just ultimately, I mean, when you have an owner who's not paying hotel bills for their players, like, it's just not going to work. And it didn't. And now look at the same team relocated in Utah. They're competitive for the playoffs. It was an ownership problem, not a city problem. Teams wanted to go to those games, or fans wanted to go to those games. So, let's see. Kevin says we are going to get to the point where you have someone picking at 40 in the first round of the draft. What's the point of a first round at that point? They need to stop now while they're ahead. Honestly, I think they'll try to get to 36 at some point and stop there. I think expansion is what Gary Bettman thinks his legacy is going to be, and so he wants to maximize it as much as he can.
I want to go watch Saturday Night Fever now.
Thanks, BG. But yeah, no, I'm interested in how this expansion is going to go, but it's also a ways out. Dom says the league must put another team in Toronto and make expansion draft rules so that they can win the cup before the Leafs. That would be great. I don't see Canada I would love to see, more teams up there. It's just right now with the way our dollar versus the CAD is set up, I think the league looks at the US markets and goes, they'll make us more money. And at the end of the day, that's what it's going to all be about. But for the Bruins,
but not the way the RSNs are going, because teams like in Atlanta are not going to pull in the numbers nationally.
Yeah, that's what's going to make it interesting.
It's just not a big enough market.
That's what's going to make it interesting, is because now you're moving away from the regional sports network system and you're going to streaming. Everything's going to streaming. And of course, you've got some games on one service, some games on another service.
That revenue does not go back to the league.
Yeah, it does.
The RSNs and their individual streaming, but they're not getting away from RSNs. There are
Yeah, they
certain
are.
markets that are getting away. The Bruins and the Red Sox are never going to give up their RSN. You know what I mean? Because they own it. They own it. They're not going to give it up. That revenue goes right back to them. They're not going to give it to the league. They'd be stupid to do that. The
For the
problems
Red
that
Sox, absolutely, it will never happen. But when it comes to the Bruins, at some point, they may not have a choice.
they own it, though. The league can't force them to sell it.
They can hold on. Dom says the dollar is what it is. Edmonton was the most profitable team last year, and all Canadian teams are in the top half. I'm just saying, when it comes to revenue, you're also got to look at what's Vegas bringing in. You know, a newish U.S. market. You know, but again, things can change by the time they're ready to pick the next expansion team. You know, we know they're looking at Texas right now, and we'll see where they look at after that. But I think it's going to always require a building going forward. But I do want to bring it back to the Bruins, as I know Kevin is saying, Dom, who are we picking at 23? Just because we got the draft coming up this weekend, and obviously after the week of frenzied trades. Yeah, Dom, I know it's revenue. Anyway, after the frenzy week of trades, with the Bruins doing nothing, like you said before, there's a lot of people who view this team as on the downslide in their own division. And I know you mentioned it before, you don't feel that way. Do you see them going up or down, staying kind of the same, more so going into next season? Where do you think this team lands next season at this point?
At this point right now, I
Yeah.
can't say that. They haven't hit free agency yet. There is no roster. They haven't re-signed their own UFAs. They haven't given qualifying offers to their RFAs. I don't know who's on the roster and who's not on the roster. So, in given that aspect, I'm not going to say, but if they were to run it back with a couple of additions and Hagen's playing a full season, they're going to compete. They're always going to compete. They have a Vezina caliber goaltender. They have a sniper. They have another 30-goal scorer. They have two of the best defensemen. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. And they have a new coach who's thinking outside the box and utilizing his young players. So why would I think that they're on a downward trajectory? No, they're headed up.
It might not be the steep slope that fans are looking for by pulling off one magical trade to get a bunch of things out of here, and
because people think that Connor McDavid is gonna literally say, "I refuse to play for Edmonton. I'm not like, even though he still has time left, just trade me now."
Yeah.
And they think that the Bruins could give Edmonton what they want for Connor McDavid.
Right now,
and if not, then Don Sweeney isn't doing his job.
Right now, the Bruins barely have the trade compensation for Robert Thomas, and people think they have the trade package for Connor McDavid. Like, come on.
I mean, then again, if Mike Babcock was my coach, I'd be saying I want out. But that's just me.
McDavid helped pick him.
I know.
I will say, I do find it funny, and I was talking to Kenny about it earlier. The message in that press conference of he's going to come in and help him get better and improve in all these areas that they were supposed to be improving in all these other coaches ago. Mike Babcock is the guy that needs to come in and push them over the edge. It wasn't any other coach. Only Mike Babcock could have done that. What does that tell you about the players if they need that kind of person to be their motivating factor to get over the edge to win a cup?
Especially after he threw Columbus underneath the bus and took no responsibility in his press conference. Give me a break.
He threw his wife under the bus too. She told me to get out of there. What, you weren't going to do it because it wasn't the right fit? You didn't see that? All right, yeah, that's the guy I want running my hockey team at the ice level. And just, yeah.
And somehow, some way, Bruce Cassidy is still unemployed.
Yeah, Vegas with that control is, well, I think if it was a team in the East.
It is their right. It is their right because he's still technically under contract. But they can now take that bullshit reason of it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. We need to focus.
No team's looking to hire a coach anymore. Their plan worked. He's not working anywhere. Now, any team that hires him still needs to go through Vegas if they fire their current coach. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out. Do you have a problem with that stipulation in their contract as long as the coach is still getting paid?
What, that Vegas controls?
That if they're fired,
Or
the team still maintains their rights.
No, I have a problem with that. I do. I have a problem with that. And I get it's in their contract, but I have a problem with that. Because and yes, I know that he's still technically getting paid, but they should not be able to say, no, you cannot talk to other teams. You know what I mean? Like, if I say to you, Chris, if you fire me from this podcast, I know I don't have a contract, but you shouldn't be able to prevent me from doing another podcast. You know what I mean? Because you don't want my services.
Right.
So why are you preventing me from going out and getting another job? Then you can not pay me.
I was going to say the only argument that I would have, and I don't know why it seems that complicated to do it this way, if Bruce Cassidy says and basically signs the dotted line that says, I forego all of the future earnings on this contract so that I can go get employment elsewhere. If he gives up the money, they give up the rights. That's how it should be. If a coach says you fired me with 4 years left and I want to just collect and do nothing, then as long as they're collecting that paycheck, the team owns that coach's rights.
Well, but you're also saying I want to do nothing for 4 years and collect my money. He doesn't want to do that.
Exactly.
He wants
That's my point.
Coach.
That's what I'm saying. Is if the coach is willing to walk away from the money, they should have their rights freed.
But the whole thing is that they fired him. Kelly McCrimmon said, Bruce Cassidy, you are no longer our coach. But we're not going to let you talk to any other team to go find a new job. That's bullshit. That's 100% bullshit, regardless of the money. Because as long as he's interviewing with other clubs and he takes a job, then his money comes off their books anyways. They're paying 2 coaches for no reason.
Unless they just have to pay the difference. It doesn't, like, if he gets a little less, they have to make up the difference. But yeah, I agree with the concept that you're making the point for.
Right. Like that.
I'm just saying that's the middle ground here. It seems to me that that's the easiest middle ground to make both sides happy and miserable.
There should be no middle ground. If you get fired before your contract is expired, they should still, regardless of if they have to pay you or not, they shouldn't be preventing him from talking to other teams.
I think it's a dick move for sure.
They're being petty.
100%. It's why people don't like Vegas, and that's why we laugh when
that's
they
not
go
the
on
only
the poor
reason why
me
people
movement.
don't. That is not the only reason why people don't.
No, I didn't say it's the only reason. I said it's one of the reasons. Yeah. But Kevin does say nothing in free agency is a needle mover for me. Outside of trades, this team will be about the same as they were last year. I think that's applicable for most teams because free agency is really dull because even Alex Tuck is off the board now. So I don't even know who the highest rated free agent is. Do you remember?
Excuse me. I'm reading Kevin's comments.
About not firing you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want me to fire you, and that's fine. As you said, there's no contract. I can't fire you. Can you fire someone from a job they don't hold? I'm just looking. I'm trying to pull up the Puckpedia dashboard right now just to see. All right, so UFA forwards, Anthony Mantha is at the top of that list. And then you go 40-year-old Alex Ovechkin, almost as old Patrick Kane, and then Victor Arvidsson. And quite frankly, I think Victor Arvidsson's a better player than Anthony Mantha. Yeah, Kevin says they may have the rights to the best free agent in Arvidsson right now. But they also hold the rights to Pavel Zacha, who is getting called about what every day.
Yeah, Sweeney does not want to let Pavel Zacha go.
Would you trade him though?
What am I getting back for him?
Well, based on the prices right now, quite a bit.
If I'm getting draft picks, no. Draft picks don't help this team. Pavel Zacha does. He's versatile. He can play the wing. He can play the center. He can play 1, 2, 3. You can put him on the fourth line if you have to. He's a penalty killer. He's on the power play. He's too versatile. There is no reason to trade him for a bag of pucks.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. I don't think based on the market it's going to be a bag of pucks. I do look at how this team is going to be improved, and they don't have many roster spots, and the pieces that you're willing to trade aren't as no, Tyler, I would not do Elias Pettersson for Pavel Zacha. I wouldn't be surprised if Pavel Zacha had Vancouver on his limited no trade clause. I look at this roster. I mean, I would be okay, again, to your point of moving Pavel Zacha for a haul. If you're going to get, 3 top tier premium assets, you have to consider it. Even if one of them is a draft pick. But Dom can Zacha back up Swayman if so, I say keep him, or maybe Swayman gets hurt.
I need something to strangle someone.
That's all right. We'll find someone to strangle after. But like you look at this team, even Tanner Jeannot, do you really want to trade him right now, given what the rest of the Atlantic looks like right now as far as how physical they can be?
What? Say that again?
Tanner Jeannot. Would you even want to listen to him? Like, his value clearly went up from when we first signed him as a UFA. Would you even want to trade him right now, given the outlook of the Atlantic?
I mean, no.
Like, I wouldn't want to trade Corrali.
But the thing is that people want to move on from Arvidsson, from Corrali, because they're bottom 6 and they're not sexy on the score sheet, because they don't look at the other aspects of their game. Because all people care about, and I'm not talking about the people in our chat, all people care about is scoring. Well, you can win a 1-0 game. You can win a 2-0 game. You can win a 3-2 game. You don't need to be putting up 6, 7, 8 goals every single game to be successful in the NHL.
Yeah, and Kevin says you need to build through the draft now. Free agency is only going to get worse with the cap going up and trade prices are skyrocketing. Well, Kevin, if you actually look at the teams that have been making it to the Cup final, more often than not, they're doing it with players they traded for. Florida pulled the deals. Vegas has pulled the deals. Tampa, the year they won, like, the build through the draft model is very quickly going out the door. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done, because that's what Anaheim has done. That's what Detroit has been trying to do.
Even if you go back to the Bruins in 2011, how many players on that team not named Bergeron, Krejci, and Marchand. In
Lucic
Sagan.
too.
Huh?
Lucic.
In Sagan.
Yep.
But Nathan Horton, where'd he come from?
Mark Recchi.
Where did Zdeno Chara come from?
Yeah, I think he's one of the last true unrestricted free agents that we're going to be able to see that can change a franchise.
Where did Dennis Seidenberg come from?
He was not a draft pick.
Where did Andrew Ference come from?
He wasn't a draft pick either.
Rich Peverly.
Not a draft pick.
Right. So, I mean, not everyone. Tuukka Rask wasn't even a draft pick.
No, he was acquired via trade. Yep.
He was acquired for Andrew Raycroft. So, I mean,
thanks again, Toronto.
I mean, it's not, I mean, because yes, you get some players like Bergeron, like Krejci, like Marchand that grow up in the organization and they do become like Connor Bedard is going to be one. Connor McDavid is one that grew up in their franchise and became who they are. You know what I mean? So you're still going to have like Sidney Crosby is one of those. Alexander Ovechkin, you know what I mean? Like those players, yes. But Crosby didn't win it with all of his team being drafted.
The 4 core guys of that team were drafted. Letang, was it Letang? No, it was Fleury, Malkin, Crosby, and yeah, I think it was
right.
Letang.
But
everybody else around them were
right,
quiet.
and the Bruins had Krejci, Marchand, and Bergeron. You know what I mean? So that's my point. That's my point is that yes, you have some core players that you've drafted. The Bruins now have Pasternak, McAvoy, Swayman. Who else?
And it's
that they drafted
because Beamer head here says all those teams that are making those trades are trading established players they drafted with the exception of Vegas. Vegas is the anomaly because they were an expansion team. But the thing is yes, you have to draft players. You have to have valuable trade assets. It doesn't matter if it's a player or a draft pick. It doesn't matter. You have to have them. And you have to be willing to put together a large package that fans may not like. You really think Florida fans looked at that Matthew Tkachuk acquisition dealing away what was one of the best point-producing wings in the entire league in Jonathan Huberdeau and a great defenseman in Mackenzie Weegar? You gave up 2 assets to bring in Matthew Tkachuk, and those were premium assets at the time. The deal has seriously worked out for Florida. I'm not knocking the trade, but the day after, the hour after, you really think Florida Panthers Twitter was thrilled by it?
Nope.
Like, no. And if you go back and look at teams that have won championships in any league, you can really go back and look at it. There is a trade within the 2 to 3 years prior to them winning that fans absolutely hated for whatever reason. Fans either hated it or it was one that you look at and go, really wish we didn't have to do that, but it helped. You can look at any team that's won, and there's been a trade like that. Within, I would say, guaranteed it's been within 5 years of their win.
Oh.
But for the most part, it's within 2.
Bruins fans weren't originally happy when they traded Blake Wheeler.
Nope. What'd they do? They won the cup.
Right. But
it's not just in hockey, though.
Right. But when he was traded, people were not happy.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, but again, you can look at it in any sport, and it holds true. It really does. So Kevin says, yeah, I'm talking about the way the league is headed, not nearly 15 years ago. Again, right now it's headed in a direction of building through trades because it's about having high-end talent. So,
well, and the other thing is too is that players are not making it to free agency.
No, they're not.
The ones that are making it to free agency are bottom 6 or depth pieces. They're not like Alexander Ovechkin is a UFA. Do you really think he's going to hit the open market?
Only because I don't think either side really knows where they're at right now. I think they're making some of their moves right now to be able to sell to him, look, come back for another season.
Right.
But is it truly an open market if it's Washington or Russia?
Right.
Like, let's be honest, that's what it is.
Right.
If Crosby was hitting the open market, it would be retirement or Pittsburgh.
Right.
Like, there are just a couple players that applies to.
Right.
It's not really free agency at that point.
Mm-mm.
Like you said, they're just not hitting the market. The ones that do are the ones that you should be able to replace internally
because
fairly
even
easily.
Last year, one of the biggest free agents was who?
Depends on which way you're going.
He ended up in
Mitch
Vegas.
Marner.
Right. He didn't even hit the open market because it was a sign and trade.
And who was it this year? Darren Radish.
Right. So that's the whole thing. It's because, and unfortunately, the way the league is headed as well is that the players have a lot more control than the GMs do.
They do, but that's all self-inflicted by the general manager. For instance,
it's the whole league.
Oh, no,
it's not just the general manager. It's the whole league now.
The teams are the ones who started giving away the no move clauses like candy. Mm-hmm. They gave that power to the players. Now, whether that's a good thing or not, that's a totally different conversation. The point is if GMs want to maintain the flexibility of moving a player, don't give them a full no movement clause. It's that simple. Now, does it make negotiating the price a little bit more difficult? Sure. But if you look at a lot of the teams right now, look at Vegas. They're still in a cap crunch situation, and anybody that you look at that roster on and say, yeah, I'd be willing to move them. Yeah, I've seen Thomas Hertl's name come up. He's got a no move clause, full no move clause. Mm-hmm. So he better like where they want to send him, so he actually approves the deal.
Look at Allmark. Yep. They were going to trade him earlier, and he vetoed the trade. He did not want to go on the West Coast.
Yep.
He didn't want to go on the West Coast. So, I mean...
I would simply say negotiate that better. If you're a GM, negotiate the no-move clause better. Mm-hmm. Like, the reason why you look at a player like Korpisalo and go, okay, well, he's movable because his no-trade list is only 10 teams. So that still gives you more than half the league to work with. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that that's the half of the league that you're going to be able to find a deal with? No, but at least if it's not this year, you could be looking at next year. Like, there's some room there. Detroit's penciled into a corner right now because Dylan Larkin can approve anywhere he goes.
Right.
There's a reason why Vancouver, I find it hilarious how many deals that I see where Bruins fans are like, oh, and then you get Filip Hronek. Filip Hronek doesn't want to go anywhere. Vancouver doesn't want him to go anywhere. His agent is Alan Walsh, one of the loudest agents in the league. And he has come out and said, it's wasted air. I believe that's a direct quote. Right. So enough with Filip Hronek. He's not going anywhere. Nobody wants him to. He doesn't want to. He's got the clause that protects him from doing so. Mm-hmm. Get over it. Move on. He's staying in Vancouver, period. Sorry, he ain't helping our right side. And at least for this year, that's where you're at with Hampus Lindholm too. And I'm only bringing him up because some people are saying they should look to trade him. And, next year, his no trade list drops to 15 teams. So you have a lot more flexibility if that's the direction you want to go. That being said, in the final year of the no move clause, you can sit there and say, look, we can do this next year, with or without you. We'd rather put you somewhere where you want to go, where you feel like you can be successful. We want, and that's the kind of GM that Don Sweeney is because he's a former player. It's really funny to see the difference between the former players and the non-former players as GM because of how they make their moves. Kevin says Boston isn't on most players' trade lists right now. Most guys worth trading for have no trade clauses and no move clauses. It's time to accept the Bruins have to draft well and hit for a bit. I don't think Boston's. I think the ones that fans want to trade for are all the ones with the no move and no trade clauses. It's the ones that are past that and a tier or two below that fans aren't privy to all the information because they're just paying attention to the superstars that draw their attention, and those are the guys that get the clauses.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of young, talented guys that they could trade for. Hell, they could have thrown together a couple firsts to go get a player like Sam Iskevich. Beamer says the Bruins have to draft right now and make smart trades until they are established cup contender. They aren't attracting big name free agents. I guess that depends on the definition of a big name free agent, but right now the big name free agents aren't hitting the market. Like, you remember how much we talked about whether or not they should sign Mitch Marner?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he hit the free agent market, he'd be signed right now for $15 million by a team. Now, if it wasn't Boston, Bruins fans would be laughing. What a terrible contract that is. Haha, he's on your books, blah, blah, blah. No move clause, et cetera, et cetera. But if the Bruins had signed him, it'd be the greatest contract ever.
Right.
So the big name free agents aren't hitting the market. And then as far as trade candidates, you have to find a player who's ineligible for that no move clause. Because that kicks in at, I believe, 27 years of age is when it can kick in. It's either 26 or 27. I'm pretty sure it's 27. So you need to find someone who's young that another team is willing to part ways with, who you might still have a little bit of project on. And for the Bruins to deal someone like that, that would be Mason Lohrei right now. So they need to get around no move clauses. They need to stop giving them out. Let's see. Kevin says, but you can't build through trades if you don't have anything teams want. Exactly. What it is, if you look at the trades that Sweeney has made.
But you can build through trades if you have, but the other thing is too, is that you also have to, I mean, Don Sweeney has fleeced a lot of teams in trades.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want Don Sweeney to get fleeced?
No.
Because in a real world, for like Robert Thomas, it's Higgins, Letourneau, and a first, right?
Probably 2 firsts.
Or Higgins, Letourneau, Lohrei, and a first. Are you willing to give up that much for one player?
No. Not yet anyway.
Right.
Because we don't have enough in the cupboard to give those things away. Because once you get past Higgins and Letourneau, you have nothing else to trade.
Right, because the Bruins gambled away their draft capital by trading away draft picks and prospects to bring in other players that they have to rebuild their prospect pool. I don't know how I got a bubble with a thumb up, but I did. Night, Dom.
Good night, Dom. So there are, with the invisible guy behind me. Okay, yeah. Cool. Appreciate that, Dom. There are also a lot of times where a trade for Don Sweeney just didn't work out. It was a good swing, and you can look back at it in hindsight because something didn't work and go, well, that was stupid. But like, remember back in 2020 when he traded Backes, Axelson, and a first for Ondrej Kase? Mm-hmm. He was a young 20-year-old forward who it helped you get rid of the Backes contract because that was dragging you down at that point. Sweeney signing it is a whole different conversation, but he got out of it and he brought back a player with major upside. Injuries prevented that from working out. Ondrej Kase, if he didn't get hurt, could still be playing for this team. Mm-hmm. He was that young. You know, like They had a contract extension in place for Rick Nash, and he got hurt and opted to retire instead.
I'm gonna let you guys chat for a minute. I'll be right back.
So not a problem. We can start to wrap up here shortly once she gets back anyway. Kevin says, which is why exactly if someone offered me a top 10 pick for 29-year-old Zaka, I'm doing it, no questions. This top 10 is loaded. I'm not doing it for just a top 10 pick, Kevin. I'm not doing one asset that's that important to this team for one. Let's see. The Bruins went all in for about 7-8 years to win with Bergeron and Chara. If any of those deals worked, we'd manage to win a cup. Fans aren't as apoplectic now. No, like I said, it's with hindsight too, because there's a lot of other. I mean, people don't like the fact that they got a 3rd-round pick anymore for Dan Vladar now that he's starting in Philly. Well, he wasn't cracking your starting lineup to be worth keeping around. You sent him out to Calgary for a 3rd. There was no problem with the deal then. Hampus Lindholm got brought in for 2 seconds a first plus Vakanainen, and they got rid of the John Moore contract in that one. So there's other things along, and then you just dealt away picks after picks after picks. There would be more, obviously. I'm just saying that that's the thing, Kevin, is what's more? Are you getting another 1st-round pick next year? Like, where are we having that? And at some point, the best way to rebuild your draft pool, your prospect pool, is, I agree with you, through the draft, but you only get one 1st-round pick of your own every season. So you have to be willing to go out and get 2 or 3 more. And then if you have those draft picks, you need to be willing to also move them if a player becomes available. So just as an example, Kevin, and we got Gayle back here. We were talking about the package potential for Pavel Zacha, and I said that if it's more than just a top 10 pick, I would be considering the deal. But at a certain point, you have to make draft picks. You have to have a number of high draft picks, and because you only get one per year, you have to be willing to make a trade for those picks. And we're starting to see more teams willing to do that. That's why if you look at what some of these teams, that's what Vegas has been doing. They will package 3 years worth of firsts and go out and get a player like Jack Eichel and say, screw it, we don't need those picks anymore. We have the 1C we were hoping to get in those 3 first picks. And then when something on their roster comes off the books or needs to get moved off the books, they move it. They get someone else's draft picks. They turn around and move them. They don't draft their own players. They don't have a prospect pool. If they did, they'd be trading those guys. That's why Detroit is ready to move on from Yzerman, because he's not pulling the trigger on any of those deals. So anyway, all that is a long way away from the good news of Bergeron getting his number in the rafters and going into the Hall, which is where we started this whole conversation. So we wanted this to be a quick one. It went a little past an hour, but
that's okay.
We had some good comments and questions and stuff like that. The next time we chat on here, it will be after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts, final thoughts, or anything like that before heading into the draft about this team?
No.
Do you have anything? Do you have anything that you want to share about the Boston Fleet? I know their offseason is still well underway as well.
Yeah, I mean, their expansion draft is just whatever. I don't even want to talk about it. Timothy, hello and good night. No, Kevin, we are not going live for the draft.
I haven't been able to confirm with anybody to do any specific thing for the Friday or Saturday draft. But Kevin, if you want to do a draft show with me, take out the mic and let's do it. I'm willing to do it if Kevin's willing to do it. He won't do it. Although Dom and I will be live on Saturday morning. So we'll have at least the first round to go over. Hopefully we have a pick in there worth talking about. I might be able to finalize something, Kevin, but I haven't really put too much thought into it. Just tell Kenny to do it.
It depends on. I don't see Friday working. It's Fridays are tough for me. Well, I don't know.
I was in for the procedure I needed to have last week. I've been recovering from that. Didn't really know how things were going to go with that. So has not exactly been more than just I wanted to kick back and relax and enjoy the draft. It's not to say I can't do that while on, Kevin, but I have a couple days to figure it out. So I'll see what we got going on there. Maybe Kenny, maybe Jack, someone like that can jump on. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of other folks that we can direct you towards as well. But who's to say the Bruins even make a pick? So it'll be interesting for sure. And like I said, Dom and I will. I'd be okay with that if they get the right piece back. Although I do like the idea of them making first round picks. So I'm just at a point where I'm not upset either way as long as the move makes sense. Like if I look at the deal and I go, what the fuck are we doing? Then I'll be upset. But a lot of the deals that I've seen, I sit there and I go, I'm glad we didn't do that one.
Well, it's because, he's in on Nick Ritchie coming out of retirement.
Oh, of course. Does he come with the moon this time?
I think he does.
Because that's what pushes it over the edge. You said you got nothing on the fleet. So with that, thanks everybody for tuning in. We will be back next week. Like I said, Dom and I will be live on Saturday morning at 9:00. And in the meantime, go Bees.